Imagine this, two rock gods, one priceless instrument, and a war of egos that would rewrite the meaning of music itself. Tonight wasn't just about money, it was about legacy, respect, and the soul of rock and roll. What started as a simple auction became a masterclass in humility that the music world would never forget. Buckle up, because this story has more twists than a guitar solo. This December air bit hard as Manhattan's elite filed into Sotheby's Madison Avenue showroom in 2018. This wasn't just another auction, this was a pilgrimage. Displayed under museum-grade lighting sat a cherry-red Gibson Les Paul Custom, the very axe Chuck Berry cradled when he birthed Maybelline in 1955. The instrument that literally invented rock and roll. Starting bid? A cool $2 million. But everyone knew this price tag was just the opening riff. Front row, dripping in Armani sophistication, sat Roger Waters. At 75, the Pink Floyd architect looked like he owned the room, because in his mind, he did. Leaning toward his advisor, Marcus Wellington, Roger's voice carried that familiar condescension. Marcus, this Les Paul represents the pinnacle of musical evolution. It belongs with someone who comprehends its artistic significance, not these Wall Street types playing collector. Marcus nodded uncomfortably, already sensing trouble brewing. Meanwhile, in the back corner, a figure sat that seemed ripped from a different dimension entirely. Ozzy Osbourne, 70 years old, wore his trademark black leather, faded jeans with holes, and that mischievous Birmingham grin. His companion, young assistant Tommy Rodriguez, whispered nervously, "Mr. Osbourne, that's the actual Maybelline guitar. One of the most valuable instruments on earth." Ozzy's eyes sparkled with childlike wonder. "Tommy lad, without Chuck Berry, there's no Black Sabbath. No Beatles, no Stones. Hell, even Roger's fancy wall wouldn't exist. We all stood on Chuck's shoulders, mate. Every last one of us." The auctioneer, distinguished gentleman named Harrison Blackwell, approached the podium with theatrical precision. "Ladies and gentlemen, we present Lot 47, Chuck Berry's 1955 Gibson Les Paul Custom. This guitar doesn't just have history, it is history." The room erupted in polite applause, except Roger, who remained stoically unmoved. "Overblown introduction," Roger muttered to Marcus. "It's an important instrument, certainly, but it lacks the sonic sophistication of my Fender Precision bass from Dark Side of the Moon." Now that was musical architecture. From the back, Ozzy had caught the comment. That pretentious tone felt painfully familiar. "We open at $2 million, Harrison announced. Roger's paddle shot up instantly. $250,000, Harrison smiled. $250,000 from Mr. Waters. Do I hear $2,300,000? Ozzy's Birmingham accent cut through like a blues riff. Roger spun around, spotting the disheveled rocker. His face flickered with recognition and disdain. $2,600,000, he countered, his voice now edged with irritation. Marcus leaned in, concerned. "Roger, perhaps we should reconsider." "Marcus, please. I'm a progressive rock pioneer. Osbourne just makes primitive heavy metal noise. This guitar deserves sophistication." Roger's arrogance was now on full display. $2,800,000, Ozzy called out, calm as if ordering tea. Tommy whispered frantically, "Mr. Osbourne, this is escalating fast!" Ozzy's eyes never left the guitar. "Tommy, when I was a kid in Birmingham, broke as hell, my neighbor Mrs. Patterson had this beat-up transistor radio. One night, Maybelline came crackling through. That moment, that sound, it saved my life. That guitar ain't just wood and strings, son. It's hope carved into music. $200,000. Roger's voice now carried steel. The room went silent. Other bidders had retreated, content to witness this titan clash. Harrison maintained composure. $200,000 from Mr. Waters. Ozzy raised his hand casually. $400,000. Roger stood abruptly, face flushing crimson. Marcus grabbed his arm, but Roger shook him off violently. $750,000, he shouted, the number echoing off marble walls. Mr. Waters offers $750,000, Harrison announced, clearly shocked. Mr. Osbourne? Every head swiveled. Ozzy stood slowly, his worn boots clicking against polished floors as he walked toward the front. Passing Roger's row, he stopped and turned, looking directly into those irritated eyes. "Roger, mate," Ozzy said softly, that Birmingham accent gentle as rain. "What does this guitar mean to you?" Really in your heart, what does it mean? Roger blinked, caught completely off guard. It's a historically significant instrument. It represents musical progression, the evolution of, yeah, but what does it make you feel? Ozzy interrupted. Silence. Roger couldn't answer. Marcus dropped his gaze, embarrassed. Ozzy continued, his voice now carrying emotion that hushed the room. Let me tell you what Chuck Berry means to me, Roger. 1963, Birmingham, England. I was 15, my old man worked the metal foundries. Mum scrubbed toilets at the hospital. We had nothing, absolutely nothing. But Mrs. Patterson next door, she had that little radio. One evening, Maybelline came on, and Roger, mate, that guitar riff didn't just entertain me. It saved me. It told me life could be more than factory floors and poverty. It gave me permission to dream. The room was frozen. Even the staff had stopped moving. Chuck Berry's Les Paul, Ozzy continued, staring at the guitar through its display case, isn't a trophy. It's a promise. A promise that kids like me from nowhere can become something. If Tony Iommi hadn't heard that sound, there's no Black Sabbath. If Keith Richards hadn't heard it, no Rolling Stones. That guitar shouldn't sit locked in some private vault, Roger. It should breathe. It should inspire. It should live. Ozzy turned back to Harrison. $4,800,000. Roger's mouth opened, but no words came. He was defeated, not financially, but spiritually. Any other bids? Harrison asked 3 times. Silence. Sold to Mr. Osbourne for $4,800,000. The room exploded in standing ovation, but Ozzy wasn't hearing it. His eyes remained locked on that beautiful red guitar. Tommy approached, stunned. Congratulations, Mr. Osbourne. Ozzy laughed that familiar raspy laugh. Sharon's gonna murder me, Tommy. She'll say, Ozzy, you spent what on a guitar? And I'll say, but it was Chuck Berry's, love. It won't save me, though. During the post-auction reception, Roger sat isolated in a corner booth nursing bourbon. Catastrophic evening, he muttered. I feel like a complete fool, Marcus spoke gently. Roger, maybe this is the lesson you needed. Music isn't just intellectual complexity. It's emotional connection. It's humanity. Roger didn't respond. Meanwhile, Ozzy was at the collection area, where staff had secured the Les Paul in a climate-controlled case. Can I hold it? Ozzy asked quietly. Tommy looked surprised. Mr. Osbourne, it's yours now. With reverence, like cradling a newborn, Ozzy lifted Chuck Berry's guitar. His calloused fingers touched the strings, feeling decades of wear. Tommy, set up a meeting tomorrow. With who? Ozzy smiled. Roger Waters. The next afternoon, they met at a tiny cafe in Greenwich Village. Ozzy arrived in his usual leather and denim. Roger predictably wore a tailored Tom Ford suit. Roger, sit down, mate, Ozzy said warmly. Roger sat stiffly. Ozzy, I must apologize. Last night I was insufferably competitive. Ozzy waved it off. Mate, you wanted the guitar. So did I. Difference is why we wanted it. After coffee arrived, Ozzy leaned forward. Roger, you're brilliant. Dark Side, The Wall, masterpieces. You've created some of the most sophisticated rock ever made. But last night, when you looked at that Les Paul, what did you see? A collectible artifact? Or Chuck Berry's fingerprints? His sweat? His soul? Roger stared into his cup. I saw only historical value. Like you said, maybe I forgot the emotional core. Look, Ozzy continued, I've made catastrophic mistakes. Bit that bat's head, nearly killed Sharon with my drinking, battled drugs for decades. But I never lost one thing, the reason music exists. Music isn't for ego, Roger, it's for people. When you wrote The Wall, you bled your pain into it. People connected because you were real. But last night, that was ego talking, not heart. Roger looked away, tears forming. You're right. I've become what I despised, arrogant, disconnected, obsessed with technical perfection while forgetting why it matters. Ozzy pulled out his phone, opening a video from a 2016 charity concert. It showed a 14-year-old girl named Maria in a wheelchair, unable to speak due to cerebral palsy, but tears streaming down her face as Ozzy sang Crazy Train. That's why Chuck's guitar matters, Ozzy said. Not for us, for kids like Maria. That guitar is a symbol of possibility. It says you can dream. That's bigger than any auction price. Roger wiped his eyes. What will you do with it? Ozzy grinned mischievously. First, survive Sharon's wrath. Then, I'm donating it to the Smithsonian National Museum of American History. It'll be displayed with Chuck's story. That way, millions of kids like Maria can see it, touch the glass, feel inspired. Chuck's legacy should live like that. Ozzy grinned mischievously. First, survive Sharon's wrath. Then, I'm donating it to the Smithsonian National Museum of American History. It'll be displayed with Chuck's story. That way, millions of kids like Maria can see it, touch the glass, feel inspired. Chuck's legacy should live like that. Roger was stunned. You're donating a $4.8 million guitar? Ozzy shrugged. Roger, I'm 70. What am I gonna do with the money? I've got Sharon, got my kids, got my dogs. If that guitar sits in my house, it's just expensive furniture. But at the Smithsonian, it changes lives. Chuck would have wanted that. Roger understood something profound in that moment. Ozzy, he said, voice breaking, I've learned more from you in 20 minutes than years of musical theory. Thank you. Then Ozzy said something unexpected. Actually, mate, I have a proposal. I'm donating the guitar, but you should give a concert there. Play Chuck Berry songs. Show people that Roger Waters remembers his roots. Progressive rock legend returns to rock and roll's foundation. Beautiful story, yeah? Roger's eyes lit up. You'd do that? After how I treated you? Music teaches forgiveness, Roger. Chuck knew that. Time we learned too. 3 months later, the Smithsonian hosted a special ceremony. Chuck Berry's Gibson Les Paul Custom gleamed in its permanent display case. Ozzy and Sharon sat front row, Sharon still teasing him. Ozzy, next time you spend $4.8 million, maybe call me first? Roger Waters took the stage with a Fender Telecaster. Good evening, he began. I'm here because a man taught me what I'd forgotten, that music isn't competition, it's communion. Tonight we honor Chuck Berry. When Roger launched into Johnny B. Good, the crowd erupted. Ozzy stood holding Sharon's hand, watching that beautiful red guitar shine under the lights. After the performance, Roger invited Ozzy on stage, embracing him before everyone. This man, Roger told the audience, taught me that humility isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And in music, love always defeats ego. Ozzy took the microphone. We all owe Chuck everything. Without him, none of us exist. Tonight ain't about a guitar, it's about legacy. And I hope this legacy inspires every kid out there who feels invisible, who thinks they're nobody. You're somebody. You matter. Dream big. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. After that night, an unlikely friendship blossomed. Roger later said in Rolling Stone, Ozzy shattered my arrogance. I'd positioned myself atop some imaginary musical hierarchy. But Ozzy showed me real music has no hierarchy. Chuck's guitar is now where it belongs, inspiring thousands daily. If I'd won, it would be locked away. Ozzy set it free. Ozzy, characteristically humble, responded, Roger's a legend, just needed reminding why we became musicians. Not for trophies, for connection. Chuck taught us that. Rest in peace, Chuck. Your guitar's still changing lives. Chuck Berry's 1955 Gibson Les Paul Custom remains at the Smithsonian, visited by thousands weekly. The plaque beside it reads, Donated by Ozzy Osbourne, because music belongs to everyone. And every day, among those visitors are children with dreams in their eyes, just like young John Osborne in Birmingham in 1963, hearing Maybelline crackle through a neighbor's radio, discovering that music could save a life. 2 legends entered an auction. Only one understood what truly mattered. Roger Waters learned that sophistication without soul is empty. Ozzy Osbourne proved that the greatest music comes from the heart, not the wallet. And Chuck Berry's guitar? It's still teaching us that rock and roll was never about ownership. It was always about inspiration. The best things in life aren't meant to be possessed. They're meant to be shared.